tracks. So, I just want to appreciate what he's done for the hip hop community. A lot of the things that he played on has been sampled, from different producers. One of my favorite tracks, as probably you guys spoke on, was a Rocksteady. That particular record was sampled by a group called EPMD. They were a hip hop group in the '90s, and they still going forward, but they actually sampled that record. I mean, they looped. They pretty much just looped the intro of the Aretha Franklin song, but that groove, you know what I'm saying? And it's just, man, like it's countless hip hop producers that have, sampled, the music that Bernard Purdie played on. It's amazing. Another track that I want to highlight was a track that Kanye West produced. It's the song called Champion, and that particular sample came from the work that he did with I'm Still a Gan.
Okay. Oh yeah.
What's the name of that Still a Dan track?
It's Kid Charlemagne. Kid Charlemagne.
Kid Charlemagne. Yep.
Yeah.
Kanye. It's a track on Kanye West record called Champion. It's crazy. He looped that section as well.
Oh man.
And that's a Bernard Purdie. I'm feeling that. That's crazy.
Yeah. No, that's a very special tune, man. That Kid Charlemagne. That's like watching. That's just like watching you. Like if you set a piece of paper on fire and just watch it. That's what that groove is like to me.
Oh my God! And it's like a reggae, kind of like a reggae vibe. But
right.
He got his. He still put his special sauce on it. You know what I'm saying? And I called Bernard. He was a magician with the hi-hats. You can recognize what he do because he have this signature hi-hat, like you know what I'm saying?
Yep.
And even in the Shaft, the record that he played with Isaac Hayes, the Shaft record, there's always these hi-hat rhythms that he does. I think that's his trademark. You know what I'm saying?
It's definitely one of those things that separates like the men from the boys, as it were, because to try to get it to breathe the way he does, you have to think about it. He probably he's stepping on the pedal, and it's like he's kind of just letting the cymbals breathe more than he's opening and closing them. But you have I'm hip. You have to find your way to that. Because it's beautiful.
Yeah, and another track that I want to highlight is this record. Another record he did with Aretha Franklin called "Young, Gifted, and Black," and it's a small segment on that track that was sampled by one of my favorite hip hop producers named DJ Premier. He has a group, Gangstar, and they out of the '90s too. But unfortunately, Guru passed away, but DJ Premier is still producing, and he's one of the biggest hip hop producers of the hip hop game. And it's a small sample in that song when the beat dropped, from the intro, and Premier just looped it. It's called Interlude 92.
Right.
He looped it, and it's magical. It's a simple loop, but it's just like it's crazy because like I'm a church drummer. I come up playing in church, and I had a very strict upbringing. Like everything outside of gospel was secular music. And we were told it was like a no-no to listen to. But anyway, I snuck in listened to certain things. So when I went to school, my friends, they were all into hip-hop, and I wanted to know what was this hip-hop. But the default thing about that is when I started advancing in my career and I would get these cover gigs, I would have to go learn music that I probably should have already knew. Like Michael Jackson tunes or just songs that you would think that I would know. And I was amazed when I started going back and looking at Bernard's track record. I could not believe the songs that he was on. Like, there's songs that I heard, and I had no idea. And I was like, oh, man, my head was cracked. I'm like, oh, he played on that record, too?
I know, man.
So,
It's an impressive list. It's a very impressive list. So I need to ask you a question about you, Daru, with that story that you told, because I think that's an interesting part of your journey, because we're friends and I follow your posts, right? And there's sometimes I see you post clips of yourself playing from early on, and your gospel roots are very apparent with the chops and everything like that. And then it seems like you really you really underwent a transformation into being a very, modern and unique kind of hip hop drummer. And so was that it? Was it sort of like expanding what you were listening to and then just really kind of, I don't want to say changing direction, but like you really, it sounds to me like when I hear you play, like you made a conscious decision about your direction, and I'm just curious if that's the case, or if it was just a natural evolution.
That's a good question, Dave. Thanks again for inviting me on the podcast. And that's a really good question. So basically, like, I knew early on when I started playing drums, I started playing when I was 4 years old, but to fast forward, when I started finding out about the jazz drummers and I started diving into that, I admired cats like Steve Gadd, and like Benny, because you could place them. I call them genre-bending drummers. You could place them in any scenario, and they would get the job done. They would still play their style. So I knew early on as a teenager that I eventually wanted to have an identity. You know what I'm saying? I wanted to have my own style eventually. But, like we all do, we go to school. We learn from all the greats. You know what I'm saying? So I found myself, as a teenager, when I found out about Wecco and Benny and all those guys and Tony, I just went and started shedding that stuff. So I would just take a little tidbit from them, from this person, that person, and then early in my career, I graduated from gospel to fusion. So I was into all of those records like Chick Corea and everything that was popular at that time. So that's the music that I played. But then I evolved. I started getting in more into hip hop, and then I started producing tracks. So that changed my whole mindset as far as like, how I approach, playing those hip-hop tracks. And then eventually my career would shift. I started being the hip-hop drummer, besides Questlove, and I got kind of on demand at that particular time. A lot of a live band, you know what I'm saying? And I just so happened to be, a fan of the hip-hop music, and, I would share that stuff, and it just, I know the importance of playing like the original records. I feel like that's very important to respect producers. Like when I get hired by anybody, I know I'm going to be covering, music that people, are familiar with. So that's always been in my mindset is to play the music like the records. And then if the artists want me to expand and add my own, I would just, slip it in there every now and then. But because of that, I was able to build my reputation. And then I just started being just a hip-hop drummer that was, that got built up a good reputation, that this guy can play the songs just like the record, you know what I'm saying? And that's when I made that transition. I just started getting the work started coming in.
That's great. But the way you play those beats isn't easy to do either. I mean, it's like there's a special feel that you have. You've not only captured it, you've taken it farther, man. And
Thank you.
Hey, I'm just calling it the way I see it, man.
Yeah, I appreciate it. You know what? I just, not to cut you all up, I just want to give a shout out because a lot of the hip hop producers in the 90s, they were all sampling James Brown records. You know what I'm saying? They were sampling Funky Drummer. Yeah. They were starting a certain era of music. So when those producers started breaking up those tracks, I recognized where those drums and stuff came from. So that was just easy. Like I think that's what gave me an advantage. Because I was a drummer. So I can transcribe that. And back then we didn't have YouTube. We had to just listen to we had to transcribe it from our ears. You know what I'm saying?
Right, exactly. Yep.
If I just want to say it's been special for you to call my show. I'm going to contact you, Daru, and I want to get you on a show one-on-one. But thank you so much for calling tonight, man. It's my honor and helping us out with this great tribute show, man. Thank you so much.
No, it's no problem. It's big respect to Mr. Purdie and what he's done, the legacy that he's built. He's definitely timeless, and we're grateful that for everything that he contributed to the industry. It crossed over to hip hop, all genres, and I'm glad. I'm happy that, like I said, I'm a product of what he's done, and hopefully I can continue, and push it forward because we got to keep it moving. Got to keep it moving. Yep. And thanks for having me on the show,
man. Beautiful. Yeah. Hey, great to talk to you, brother. See you.
Likewise. Thank you. Yep. See you.
All right. You bet. Have a good night.
Okay. Thank you. You too. Bye-bye.
We are great stuff. We are live on Around the Kid.